Welcome to Blueprint for Health and Healing, reversing disease from its foundation. Hi, I'm Dr. John Clark, and I'm here to talk to you about natural kidney health. The kidney is a very sensitive organ, and it responds very well to temperate measures. I got a very worried phone call from a gentleman. He said, my brother's in the hospital. His kidney function has fallen down below 15%. They're talking about doing dialysis. I'm so worried. Is there anything we can do naturally that can help him so he doesn't have to go on dialysis, so his kidneys don't get worse, so he doesn't lose his kidneys? And so I sat down with him on the phone and I gave him a whole program that you'll find out in this lecture that would help him with helping his brother not to have any further kidney failure and to help him recover. Well, a few weeks later he called back to report that his brother's kidney function had steadily moved up. It had gone from 15% to 20% to 54%. Finally, it made it to 74%. Wow! A miracle of the Lord. And following good health advice. By the end of this presentation, you'll better understand the causes, preventative measures, and natural remedies for kidney disease. I used to practice fairly conventionally. When I was in medical school, I did special rotations in kidney disease, nephrology, and spent some time with some of the best doctors in that area. When I went back for continuing medical education, I took some classes especially about nutrition and the kidney, but I've done an awful lot of my own research as well. Your kidneys are delicate organs and respond well to temperate measures. You have to sort of be nice to them, and they'll be nice to you. What will we cover? We're going to cover dietary considerations, lifestyle kidney effects, and simple natural remedies. Now, in the United States, there's quite a few people that suffer from kidney disease. About 15% of the U.S. Population has chronic kidney disease. And over 500,000 go 3 times a week for dialysis. Chronic kidney disease is really loss of kidney function. Your kidney's job is to filter your blood, to take out impurities, to remove metabolic products such as urine. And there's many causes of kidney failure. Really, poor lifestyle choices are going to top the list. High blood pressure is known to cause kidney failure. Kidney inflammation, called chronic glomerular nephritis, will end in kidney failure. High blood sugars, this is your diabetics. The sugar sticks to everything. It plugs up the kidneys. What do I do if my kidneys are all plugged up with sugar? Well, fix the diabetes. And we do talks on this channel on diabetes, so take a look at those. Then there's drug side effects. I don't know how many patients have actually called me due to drug side effects or chemicals in their environment. And then there's such things as polycystic kidney disease. There can be a blocked urinary tract. In this series, we talk about benign prostatic hypertrophy when men have trouble peeing due to blocked urinary tract. And then there's just plain infection, urinary tract infection or kidney infection. So these things are the causes, at least the top of the list of causes. There's always other rare causes, but these are the ones we want to call your attention to. Well, I said poor lifestyle. That's what I put on the top of the list. And lifestyle includes diet. So let's talk about diet. You know, there's certain foods that if you eat them, if you eat these foods, you will end up with kidney failure. There's foods that if you eat, you will instantly lose 40% of your kidney function. That's right, 40%. And certain pills. Of the foods that will cut your kidney function down, your glomerular filtration rate, by 40% are animal products with animal protein. I looked at a research project. I talked to a researcher who was working with dogs, which you would think would be, meat eaters. But even in dogs, when they fed them animal protein, meat, their kidney function decreased by 40%. It's fascinating to find out that lions have kidneys that are like 5 times larger than their vegetarian counterparts like deer. And it's because, they're going to lose nephrons during their life. And what happens when you eat animal protein is it shuts down kidney function and increases glomerular, the functional unit of the kidney, the glomerular function, it decreases the glomeruluses by a large percentage over time. You keep losing kidney units. You keep losing filters. You're just going to end up with failed kidneys. So my first thing for people with kidney failure, who at this point are finally motivated to do something different, is to stop all animal protein. Don't drink milk. Don't eat eggs, cream, yogurt, flesh of fowl or beast. You're wanting to make sure that you don't have any animal protein. And of the animal proteins, any of them that are fermented are going to be any worse. Salami, cheese, and these things will cause the kidneys to need to filter stuff. You're putting stuff in your body that isn't helpful, and they're very acid forming. Cheese is the most acid forming food you can eat. And if you eat this acid forming food, you will burn out your kidneys. And so I would definitely be avoiding cheese or any of the fermented meats and processed meats like hot dogs, salami, and that kind of thing. Now, on the other hand, vegetable protein is pretty beneficial. And you're wondering, well, what's the difference? Isn't protein protein? No, protein isn't just protein. There's a different composition to the amino acids in, say, soy protein compared to beef. What's the big difference? In beef, there's a lot more methionine, cysteine, a lot more amino acids that have acid-forming side groups. There's also a different percentage of these amino acids. And so soy protein actually is beneficial to the kidneys, whereas animal protein isn't. It's like every chemical isn't good for you. There might be a few like vitamin A that are, but glyphosate isn't going to be. And they're all chemicals, just like proteins are all proteins. But the glyphosate's very different than vitamin A. So just to try to give you an illustration here why proteins are different. And so one study looked at switching from dairy, an animal protein source, to soy milk. And when they did it, it lowered blood pressure, improved insulin sensitivity, and it restored kidney function. So if you switch from beef, which shuts down your kidneys by 40%, to soy, you'll pick up that 40%. You won't be able to perhaps recover the nephrons you lost during that insult, but you can stop the immediate effect of the animal protein on your kidney function. Now, there's a certain food that if I eat it, I can smell it on my urine not long later. What's that mean? Well, it means it came through my kidneys. What would that food be? That food is anything fried. If I eat something fried and then I go urine, I can smell it on my urine. And these fried foods are loaded with oxidized lipids. Those oxidized lipids are going to end up in my kidneys. Those oxidized lipids are going to cause free radical damage. Those oxidized lipids are going to end up making it so the kidneys are going to go into inflammation. Oh boy. And so any refined oils, cooking oils, lard, butter, margarine, these all cut down oxygen to the kidneys. They increase the oxidative damage to the kidneys. And so I say if you're having any issues with your kidneys, you don't want any of these things. You want to stay away from processed, refined, bottled oils. I mean, all oils and margarines, butters, these all thicken the blood as well. Makes it harder to pump around. Your blood pressure is going to go up. Didn't we just say that like high blood pressure causes kidney failure? Yeah, we did. So that's going to be part of the problem. And now there are some good sources of fats, and that would be things like olives. Not olive oil per se. I'm saying you want to stay away from the processed ones, but if you can just eat like the green ripe or black ripe olives, I'm not suggesting calamansi olives or all the fermented olives because we're staying away from fermented stuff. Fermented stuff just gives your kidneys more stuff to work on because your body doesn't like fermented stuff. But the unfermented olives, and so whole ripe olives provide nutrients that are very beneficial to your kidneys. And yeah, I would suggest if you aren't used to eating those, trying a few and see if you like them. You might want to rinse the excess salt off of them, but you'll benefit. And speaking of salt, salt isn't really particularly good for the kidneys, at least excess salt. And so keeping on a low salt diet is beneficial for kidney failure. And what kind of salt would be good? I tend to go for sea salt. Here I have pictured some Himalaya salt. Some of the Himalaya salts are a bit high in fluoride for your kidneys, so I wouldn't necessarily pick that one, but I put it here on the slide where I'm suggesting staying away from the salt. And now I want to talk about what the kidneys are up to. They want to remove from your body things that would otherwise be hazardous to you. And so if you're eating stuff that's hazardous to you, the kidney's job is going to be much worse. If you're eating food that's so hazardous to you that it not only needs to be removed by the kidneys, but it damages the kidneys, this is even worse because, yeah, the kidneys are working hard to accomplish this. So to preserve your kidney function, never eat inflammatory foods. Inflammatory foods are really foods that either create inflammation or are inflamed themselves. Inflammatory foods include any food created by fermenting, rotting, spoiling, aging, processing, refining, frying. And these foods will raise the cytokines. These foods will raise the inflammatory mediators. And so they'll inflame the kidneys. When they inflame the kidneys, you're in trouble. And you want to eat fresh food, food that's high in nutrients that nurtures kidney growth and sustains it in its function. Examples of fermented foods that don't help the kidneys are vinegar, cheese, soy sauce, chocolate. Yep, chocolate's fermented. Vanilla, tempeh, miso, yogurt, sour cream, sauerkraut, pickles, and mushrooms. If you're suffering kidney failure, don't go for any of these. I mean, and where do they hide vinegar? It's in most commercial bread. It's in your condiments, salad dressings, all the stuff you put on your hamburgers like ketchup and mayonnaise and mustard and all those things. And so look at the ingredients. If it says vinegar, figure that it's not good for your kidneys. I mean, if your kidneys are going bad and you want to save them, maybe you want to go on dialysis. Maybe you're happy with that kind of technology. People don't do well on that. It's not quite like your kidneys. Now, I want to look at this whole idea of inflammatory foods and look under the microscope at a kidney and show you what it does. The microscope we're talking about here is pictured on the left, electron scanning microscope or electron microscope. And the picture there is taken on that particular type of microscope. And if we look at this picture, you'll see I have a blue arrow pointing to a capillary wall, a blood vessel wall. It's very thin. It's probably 3 cells wide. It's got some nice, very distinct appendages on it. that are involved in transport of nutrients or waste products across that membrane. Just below, in the very middle of the screen, is a sort of triangular shape, interesting finding, and that is a kidney cell. The kidney cell is very clean. On the lower side of that kidney cell, you see a nucleus. Up toward the top, you see endoplasmic reticulum. I mean, it's just good picture of good architecture of a very healthy kidney cell with very healthy blood vessels. And that's when there's no inflammation. On the bottom, we're going to have a kidney section that's very inflamed, glomerular nephritis. And this has thickened, inflamed membrane of the capillary. Notice the capillary wall is now like 3 times as thick. And then there's a kidney cell in the middle toward the right. It's similar shape to the one in the upper screen. It's full of junk. You can't find the nucleus, the cytoplasm, the body of the cells full of probably, fermented food, fried food, whatever. And off to the very far right, we have some red blood cells all stuck together, showing that this person probably has a very bad diet because all the red blood cells are sticking together. So there's the difference between an inflamed kidney and a normal kidney, all caused by things like animal protein, fermented foods, fried foods, and those kind of things. Another thing that will inflame your kidneys is eating sugar. Refined sugars, sweets, they inflame the kidneys. They compromise its function. Yeah, that morning donut, it's not going to be helpful. It's imperative that you learn to read the ingredients. I've seen products that, they tend to put the ingredients in order of their concentration or quantity in the food. The ingredients that are most that make up the most of the food are at the top of the list, and so you look at the list and sugar's way down at the bottom, but you're thinking this thing has a lot of sweetness. But next to sugar is honey, next to sugar is corn syrup, next to corn syrup, they just itemized and split it up so they could put it farther down the list. So you got to be aware of that, because high sugar foods, refined sugar foods, especially fructose, are going to inflame the kidneys. Sodas. No sodas or refined fructose containing products. What's another example of a product that's got a lot of refined fructose? Agave nectar. But it can't be that bad. It's touted as organic, and it's touted as being natural. Well, they use the same process on those agave plants that they use on corn to create high fructose corn syrup. The end result is that while high fructose corn syrup is 55% fructose, some agave is 95% pure fructose, and that just isn't right. That just isn't good. And let me tell you about these sodas, these brown sodas that have phosphoric acid in them. They're a problem. A journal article came out in JAMA, Journal of American Medical Association, and it said in their study giving a person 2 of these sodas would immediately cause blood in the urine. Where'd that come from? Kidneys. And so these sodas literally destroy your kidneys on site, real time, as you're drinking it. Another thing that you can drink that won't be helpful is alcohol. 2 drinks of alcohol per day and your risk of kidney failure goes up 4-fold. Actually, my person I started out with telling you about, that was the cause of his kidney failure. He is using quite a bit of alcohol. So you can see the things that are a problem for the kidneys. Let's talk about some things that are good. The best diet for the healthier kidneys consists of fruits, grains, nuts, seeds, and vegetables. This is where you want to concentrate. This is how you want to get your diet. This is where you want to find food. This is food for kidneys. And I recommend around 80% of your diet, in this case, as being fresh fruit and fresh vegetables. as in fresh, not cooked, is sort of raw. I mean, there's some things you need to cook, but I'm just saying if you can eat a lot of fresh stuff, it's nutrient dense, it's more nutrient dense than stuff that's cooked. You lose about a third to two-thirds of vitamins through cooking. And so this will be there in the interest of restoring your kidneys. Good vitamin C, for example, helps the kidneys to restructure, to repair themselves. And that would be from good, fresh food. Foods that help your kidneys to produce more urine, meaning that they are diuretic or, cause you to or make your kidneys more active, would be like artichoke, celery. Now in artichoke, I suggest getting the fresh ones and steaming. I'm not getting the pickled ones. Celery. Celery is sort of an interesting plant. It helps with lowering high blood pressure as well, so it'll help your kidneys in that respect as well. Eggplant. Very beneficial for making, giving you better blood vessels. And as we showed, the blood vessels are harmed in the kidneys by the bad diet, and so eating eggplant to help the blood vessels to improve would be a good idea. Cauliflower, asparagus, green beans. Green beans are high in salicylates that help tissues to repair. Apples, peaches, cantaloupe, pears. Pears are very soothing to the digestive tract and have a lot of good nutrients. They're well tolerated. Watermelon, it's very diuretic. Probably would top the list on the diuretic foods listed in this particular list. Grapes, onions with their quercetin, chives, another onion, and leeks. Leeks are high in very good fiber for good microbiome, for a healthy bunch of bacteria in your gut. And so healthy bacteria in your gut would contribute to the benefits of a gut-kidney axis. Now, also helpful for kidney disease are squash. What's like squash? Well, zucchini or even butternut. Chestnuts, dates, potatoes, sweet corn if it's not GMO. So, all in all, eating a diet consisting of 80% fresh fruits or vegetables is best for the restoration of your kidneys. Now that covers fruits and vegetables. What about grains? Well, grains can be good too, especially with their fiber. You see, when you eat lots of fiber, the fiber will help to take some load off the kidneys. The way it takes a load off the kidneys is it absorbs some of the toxins and metabolic byproducts that your kidneys are trying to remove, and thus freeing up your kidneys to recover, and carries it out of your body through your stool. And so we like fiber, especially your soluble fiber. This would be like oat and barley. Less helpful is wheat bran, but if that's all I had, I certainly wouldn't worry about it. It is recommended that if you desire to improve the health of your kidneys, take at least half a cup of oat bran or similar fiber each day. I was at a conference. I was giving a talk on cancer. When I gave the talk on cancer, I finished, and a gentleman approached me and he says, "Dr. Clark," he pointed to his wrist. He says, they're going to take me to the surgery in 6 weeks and put in a shunt in my arm to prepare me for dialysis. But you're talking here about natural things to do for cancer. I'm wondering if you have some good ideas what I can do to keep from going on dialysis. I said, well, yes. And amongst other things that I'm giving you here in this talk, I told him to take oat bran every day. Well, he went home and he did it. A year later, I saw his daughter-in-law at another conference, who was with him at that time, so I could identify who belonged to who. And I said, "How's your father-in-law?" She says, "Well, he's been doing just as you said. He still takes oat bran every day, and his kidney function hasn't deteriorated. He hasn't had to go on dialysis. And they're checking him less often because his kidney function is improving." I said, "Great." A year later, I saw her at another venue where I was giving some meetings, and I talked to her again. She says, "Well, they aren't even checking his kidneys anymore for failure. He's doing so well. In fact, his kidney doctor died." So, well, that's interesting. No connection, just kind of funny. Anyway, you can cook your grains. I mean, you need to cook your grains. In fact, it's good to cook the grains at least an hour. And If you cook them well, then it breaks down the starch. If you don't cook them well, then the starch comes in long chains and can get caught in the little capillaries of your kidneys, your brain, anywhere else. And so grains need good cooking, and so we suggest that you use grains and even grain brands the fiber in excess, and so this will be helpful. What do we have here? People getting thinner. That's what we want, because people who are obese and overweight tend to have more problems with their kidneys. Why? When you have extra fat in and around your organs, as is the case with obesity, that fat is always at a higher temperature. That fat is poorly attended to by blood vessels because it's not supposed to be there. And because it's at the higher temperature and it's not well attended by blood vessels, it tends to go rancid, it tends to go fermented, it tends to get free radicals. We call it lipid peroxidation. And when we check people's blood that are overweight, they have these oxidized lipids going to their bloodstream. Where do they end up? At the kidneys. And so weight loss helps reduce this problem, reduces visceral fat, as what we call that organ fat, that fat around the kidneys and other places. And so you can lose weight. Weight loss improves kidney function, even if you're obese. I mean, this comes from studies where they caused weight loss by tying people's stomach up, you know, doing all kinds of funny things to change the anatomy. Eating less food, fewer calories, fasting 1 day a week, or having only 2 meals a day is very helpful. Really, the evening meal is harder on your kidneys than any other meal. And so when you lose weight by skipping the evening meal, you're doing two things to help your kidneys. You know, you're killing two birds with one stone. Now, I mentioned that there's certain chemicals, certain things that aren't good for your kidneys. We definitely talked about some so far. And I want to talk about another one that shows up in fast food restaurants. Most fast food restaurants put this in your food because it makes your food have a wow with every bite, and that's monosodium glutamate. It damages your kidneys, seriously. And so how do I know if it's in the food? Well, if you're growing your own food, cooking your own food, you know what's in it. You go to those fast food restaurants, you can be pretty sure that it has some MSG. I mean, I get a headache if I go out to eat if there's MSG in the food, and that happens just about any restaurant I would go to. So I'm very selective about what I eat. You know, order more salads, less processed foods, and but there's other chemicals in the environment that'll be in your food, and that's some of these herbicides. It's hard to find any food that doesn't have herbicides in it. And your best choice is to go with organic foods. But this glyphosate or Roundup definitely causes kidney failure. And when this information came up, some countries banned this herbicide from their country. But it's in everything. Here in Canada, they did a big study. They looked at what foods had lots of glyphosate, and they discovered that 90% of pizzas sampled had high levels of glyphosate. Anything with wheat flour, including crackers, pasta, and then oats, chickpea flour, lentils. Here's what happens. Why the wheat? In the culture we're in modern times with farming practices, a lot of farmers can't afford their own harvester, their own combine. And so they depend upon big corporations that are called custom combiners or contract harvesters. And these contract harvesters start way down in the south, like in Texas, and work their way up to Canada as the wheat ripens. And every farmer wants to make sure his wheat is ready for that event. And so they spray the wheat with glyphosate to basically kill it and make it desiccate or dry out in time for harvest. Same is true of your chickpeas and your lentils and other beans and potatoes. And so personally, if I eat something with glyphosate in it, I get blisters in my mouth and feels like I have blisters all through my digestive tract. And so I'm very careful to only eat organic potatoes, white potatoes, and organic things on this list: wheat flour, oats, chickpeas and lentils. And now there's another thing that's dangerous. Now, why do they put the glyphosate on? What's the big point of that? Well, most of these products, most of these crops that they spray with glyphosate have been genetically modified to resist glyphosate. They are genetically modified foods. And these genetically modified foods don't help your kidneys. These genetically modified foods will cause detriment to your kidneys. And this was really outlined in a study done in France where they looked at rats and they fed the rats 10 or 11% of their diet as genetically modified corn and gave them water that had the amount of glyphosate in it that is allowed in most towns, most municipalities, most public water supplies. And so here's a kidney pictured. You notice below it has the little letter C, meaning the control. This is a good kidney. This is a rat kidney. It looks like a kidney bean, right? There's a reason why they call those kidney beans because they look like kidneys. But when they gave the rat GMO corn, just 10 or 11% of its diet, its kidneys started to deteriorate. The outside has lost its nice kidney bean look. It looks sort of like, maybe it's got cancer or it's really rough. They gave next set of rats got the drinking water with the herbicide in it and the corn, and that kidney doesn't even look like a kidney. It looks like something you blew out of your nose. And then the last group just got the water that had glyphosate in it. 0.1 parts per billion. I mean, this is, so, which would be 100 parts per trillion. I mean, it's a really small amount. And that's what it does to the kidneys. This is what it did to the rats. And they got all kinds of cancer from the same thing. But you want to be sure you're not getting glyphosate. I've had people call me in agriculture, in landscaping, with kidney failure. And first thing I have to tell them is you got to quit being involved in the glyphosate spraying. Let somebody else spray it. Don't walk through a field that's had it sprayed. Don't eat food that's had it on it. And another thing that'll do it is diesel fumes. People driving trucks, people working for the railroad that are always smelling diesel fumes. It affects the kidneys. I had one gentleman, he was driving truck for landscaping, big diesel truck, big dump truck, and he was getting kidney failure. And I kept telling him, you gotta switch to a gasoline truck. Now they don't make gasoline trucks, but switch to something other job. Another thing that affects you in the way of toxins is heavy metals. A lot of anything in your body that needs to be removed goes through the kidneys. And so heavy metals such as mercury, you get mercury in these silver fillings, you get mercury in vaccines, you get mercury in fish, you get mercury in some high fructose corn syrup, industrial chemicals. And kidneys are particularly vulnerable because, they're going to be the ones to filter it out, they and the liver. If you're always in hot temperatures, you tend to be dehydrated, and that's a problem. And then infections, not just infections in the kidneys, but anywhere in your body. It raises the inflammation in your body. And so make sure you stay on top of these things. Another thing that raises the inflammation in anybody's body is being in an environment where there's mold. Mold, mildew exposure definitely causes increased inflammation that's going to affect your kidneys. Then there's drugs. I don't know how many people have, when I was in medical school, I was taking care of patients that took too much Motrin and Tylenol. Took them together. That's not a good thing. And they ended up with kidney failure, and we were taking care of them. Did you know if you take one baby aspirin per day, that's like 81 milligrams of acetylsalicylic acid, that's just one, that'll shut down your kidneys by 40%. Yeah, these things, just like meat, just like animal protein, these things like Motrin and baby aspirin will cause your kidneys problems. It'll put the brakes on them by 40%. That means You know, if you're already at 15%, subtract 15 from 40. I mean, you can't be a negative, but a negative percentage. But yeah, so keep in mind that pills are a part of the problem. A lot of times, you know, you're taking the pill for something else. Oh, I got joint pain, so I'm taking Motrin. Or I got a headache, I'm taking Tylenol. Or I got heart problems, so they told me to take a baby aspirin. You're just switching the problem to kidney disease, and it'll catch up with you eventually. You want to do the natural things we're talking about and have good kidneys and good joints and no headaches from good lifestyle, rather than trying to fix the problem with a pill. A pill is sort of like a temporary fix. You know, it just doesn't, pills don't solve the problem. Otherwise you'd take one pill and it'd be over with. Got it fixed. Now, ever notice a change in the color of your urine when you're taking all those supplement pills? Some people, they pee orange. Some people, they pee red. Some people, they pee yellow, and it's a bright color. And it's like, how'd that get there? Well, it went through your kidneys. So supplement pills are not going to help your kidneys. Most supplements, especially vitamins, just enrich the sewer system with vitamins. And they're not really vitamins. They aren't really what you... For example, folic acid, given you in the interest of upping your folate in your body. It is not folate. It isn't near folate in its chemical makeup. If you look at the molecule or read the chemical name of it, it's not even close to folate. And so it's a intruder. It's a unreasonable facsimile. It's a false folate. And you take that and it's just going to make your kidneys have to remove that because it is a poison. It causes cancer, really. And so what can I do to keep the kidneys happy? Well, they're filtering your blood. Your blood is largely water, at least if you're drinking water. The more water you drink and the better your blood is on hydration, the easier it's going to be for your kidneys. And water itself is a natural diuretic. And so I suggest people drink water. Yeah, but my kidney doctor said that I shouldn't be drinking too much water because he's tired of dialyzing it off of me. Well, do kidney patients not need water? Do they not suffer with dehydration? I mean, I say drink the water and let him take it off if he's going to do it with his machine. And because you're only going to help your kidneys by keeping enough water. I mean, you don't want to drink so much that your eyeballs float, but you want to keep up with your needs. And I would push the limits there and drink as much as you can. And if you still have some kidney function, if you still make urine, this is key. You're washing out your kidneys with more dilute solution instead of concentrated. Now, on the other hand, you don't want to drink liquids that have stuff in them, nutrients in them, that have, what would we say, food particles in them. You don't want liquid meals. You don't want, when you drink liquid meals, juices, smoothies, soups, porridges, it just means that the kidneys are going to have to filter this out. So if you drink a big smoothie, it's going to end up at your kidneys. And when it ends up at your kidneys, it's not just water now, it's got all these floaties in it. And the kidneys have to sort through all the floaties that you drank in order to clean up this particular bit of blood. And so that isn't helpful. And you don't want liquid with your meals either. That just burdens your kidneys. The liquid needs to be between meals, at least a half hour before a meal and at least 2 hours after a meal, so these kidneys aren't burdened with this. And if you want good success at drinking water, it helps to schedule it. If you put it on your schedule to drink it in the morning when you get up, maybe drink, here I have 750 milliliters. That would be good to drink when you get up in the morning. Drink that mid-morning as well. Drink it mid-afternoon. I say getting 3 liters or 3 quarts would be good actually per day. And I just have to demonstrate once in a while here just to let you know that I practice what I preach. And so water is helpful. Now, certain herbal teas are beneficial, especially the ones that are diuretic or are anti-inflammatory. Dandelion tea. especially helpful. And it helps produce urine. It's got medicinal properties that are good for the kidneys. A good plan is to drink 1 cup of this dandelion tea a half hour before your meals, like before breakfast and lunch. Some people, when they are on kidney dialysis, have trouble with their potassium going sort of high, and in which case we recommend licorice tea, which dumps potassium. And we've had people who have been able to manage their elevated potassium hyperkalemia that way. Kidneys of sedentary people shut down. Whereas if you get active, it stimulates the kidney to have function. I've had patients that came to the hospital, we put them in a hospital bed, and they quit making urine. And the blood pressure went up. We're wondering what's going on. Couldn't figure it out. And one of my colleagues, when that happened, would automatically put people on a blood pressure pill that makes the kidneys start being active. And it worked, but the best thing is, rather than doing that, is to get out and take a walk. I know those hospitals are nothing but bedrooms and they put you in a bed, but that isn't where you want to stay. That actually is counterproductive to recovery. People who go and lay in beds and just lay there, they end up with increasing inflammation over time. In fact, they took a bunch of young people, put them in bed, and watched them in a hospital for 2 weeks. As they watched them, their inflammation went up and up and up, and finally they said, we better let these guys go or they will be real patients. And so they let them go. And so active exercise, especially in the morning air, with especially like these folks walking out by bodies of water, this helps to stimulate your immune system. The fresh air, see, when you breathe good, it gets rid of some of the stuff that your kidneys would otherwise have to get rid of. You breathe it off. And outdoor air is better than indoor air. And at night you'd want to have your windows open for good fresh air, because the oxygen is going to help your kidneys. And the best times to walk are in the morning when you get up and after meals. If you walk after a meal, then the blood keeps circulating. Things don't stagnate. You don't want blood stagnating at your kidneys, especially when it's full of food particles or food bits or food nutrients. And so activity after meals is especially helpful. One very good activity, I mean, if you'd rather do this, is gardening. You tend to walk around, you do this, you do that, and you're in the sunshine, you're in the fresh air. That's a good activity as well. Sunlight helps reduce mortality in kidney failure patients. That was an interesting finding in this study. And so sunlight lowers their blood pressure. So I'm always sending my dialysis patients or my kidney failure patients outdoors for a walk and finding a place where they can sun discreetly. And if you can't find a place to hide in sun, just even putting on white, light, thin, sheer clothes is very good, because if you can feel the warmth of the sun, you're getting the benefit. The warmth of the sun is a sign that the sun is actually making melatonin in the mitochondria of your cells. And when it makes melatonin in the mitochondria of your cells, including your kidney cells, that's beneficial. And so your kidneys, if you want a sun, are right there in your back. They're sort of right at the edge of your rib cage. And so your back exposed to the sun for 20-30 minutes a day is a good plan for kidney failure. Now, you want to keep the blood flowing. We say perfect health depends on perfect circulation. You want to avoid tight bands around your abdomen, such as pictured here, either elastic or belts or whatever. These affect your circulation. Literally, studies have shown people wearing a tight belt have a slowed transit of food through their intestines. They have an increased temperature of their intestines and rectum, and increased temperature is not good. Increased temperature favors inflammation, favors disease, favors overgrowth of bacteria, and bacteria that will put off toxins that your kidneys will be responsible for removing. So perfect health depends on perfect circulation. Another thing that makes sure you have perfect circulation is clothing your arms the same as you clothe your chest. This lady here is there with long sleeves and long dress and hopefully well-covered legs, and this is helpful it makes sure the blood flows from where your kidneys are in your chest, abdomen, pelvis to other places. Otherwise, all the blood gets chilled back to your central dorsal and stagnates, goes slow. When it goes slow, it inflames. The Japanese call this blood stasis inflammatory syndrome. It's really associated with sedentary lifestyle, but it's also associated with poor clothing. So clothe yourself for healthy kidneys. And sunshine will give you vitamin D. Vitamin D helps kidney function. At least there's an association. Whether it's the sun from stimulating the melatonin or the vitamin D, whatever, if you have higher vitamin D levels from sunshine, it's a good marker that you got enough sunshine. And so you want to get plenty of vitamin D because it will slow the decline in kidney function if you're already on that slippery slope going down that hill. Now, sleep. Adequate sleep increases your kidney function. Inadequate sleep increases kidney failure by 80%. And people who don't sleep well may be doing like this lady, munching on snacks. Snacks don't help. People who don't get good sleep don't get good pineal-sourced melatonin. And so people with poor sleep need to talk to, some experts on sleep. Well, I can give you a few clues. Don't eat supper. Get some good exercise during the day. Avoid caffeine. Those top the list. Avoid MSG. Now, your kidneys they are responsible for removing toxins. They're not the only organ in your body responsible for removing toxins. They're a part of a whole system of organs that can do this. And they share their job. And so you want to make sure the rest of the organs of elimination are in good shape, functioning well, doing their part. And that would include your liver, your skin, and your lungs. And so make sure you're not doing anything to harm those. But what do I do to help my skin be more responsible? Well, cleansing it good in the morning when you get up. Take a quick shower, scrub your skin well, especially under cool water. That tends to open up pores. You can also drink a lot of water and go for a sauna. Going for a sauna, a heat box like this, will help you sweat more. Sweating more will get rid of toxins. This will make it so your kidney function can focus on recovery rather than getting rid of all those toxins that normally has to remove. Bathing regularly is also helpful. Scrubbing your skin thoroughly. You can even do dry skin scrubbing or exfoliative scrubbing. It's helpful. And a bath. A bath will soothe your nerves, promote general perspiration, quicken your circulation. It overcomes obstructions in your system and acts beneficially on your kidneys and urinary organs. And maybe even put a little Epsom salts in there. Scientific studies show that a bath will increase urine flow. And that's what we want. So I send my kidney patients for a sit in the bath and enjoy themselves. And we call this hydrotherapy. There's other forms of hydrotherapy. And so, I had one gentleman who was on dialysis. And part of our program for him was doing hot and cold treatments over his kidneys. And eventually he got off of dialysis. But the hot and cold treatments are there to stimulate blood flow in the kidneys. And so I would have them do it twice a day, fill hot water bottles and fill ice bags. They would go and put the hot water bottles on their kidneys. Literally, I just had them lay on the hot water bottles over their kidneys. And then that would be for 3 minutes. At the end of 3 minutes, I would have them switch to ice packs. They were fairly movable, agile people, so I had them put the hot packs on one side of the bed and the ice packs on the other side of the bed and lay on the hot packs or hot water bottles for 3 minutes and then move over and lay on the ice packs for 1 minute and back and forth. 3 minutes hot, 1 minute cold, 3 minutes hot, 1 minute cold. Do it 5 to 7 times, end with cold, and then put away the hot and cold and rest for like 20 minutes, just to let the treatment have its chance to have the full extent of the benefit you can have. And this stimulates kidney function. It improves the blood flow. It reduces inflammation. It helps the kidneys to fight infections if that's playing a role, and to also benefit for reducing any autoimmune component. Another thing we do to help reduce the work that the kidneys have to do is to use charcoal. Charcoal reduces the burden upon the kidneys. You take it by mouth, it'll carry toxins out of your body through your stools that otherwise would be left to the kidneys to remove. You can use it by mouth, or you can use it as a poultice. When you're using it by mouth, I tend to have people take a jar full of water and put in a teaspoon of activated charcoal powder, or up to a tablespoon, and repeat this 2 or 3 times a day. This gentleman, we got off of dialysis with the hot and cold treatments and so forth. We also had him taking charcoal by mouth, 2 tablespoons a day. I had him also put a little psyllium husk powder, a teaspoon per tablespoon of charcoal, to make sure he didn't get constipated. But this is very helpful. The other thing I was doing with him was having him put charcoal poultices over his kidneys overnight. And the charcoal poultices will pull out the inflammation. Charcoal literally pulls out cytokines, interleukin 1, interleukin 6, a tumor necrosis factor. It removes the inflammatory mediators chemically, and it absorbs those things. Some of these people that are in kidney failure, you put these charcoal poultices on them, which are like shown here. We put down a paper towel, we put the charcoal poultice mixture on that, and then add another paper towel, make it wet, put it over the kidneys, and in the morning the paper towel is yellow with urine, with waste products, because it pulled it out through the skin overnight. The way we make the charcoal poultice is we want to add some kind of thickener to it so it doesn't just turn back to powder and float away or lose its water bond with the skin. And so my favorite one is to use ground flax. We'll take a saucepan that will hold at least a cup of water, put in 3 tablespoons of activated charcoal powder, 3 tablespoons of ground flax into a cup of boiling water, and stir it. And when it simmers a little bit, turn off the heat, let it cool, and then put it on the paper towels as pictured here, and put it over the kidneys, usually overnight. So that's kidney health and kidney remedies. And so, in summary, eat natural foods as grown, as natural as possible, as organic as possible. Avoid animal protein, animal fats, alcohol, caffeine, fermented and or refined foods, fried foods. Avoid drugs and supplements. Drink plenty of water, not liquid meals, water. Exercise in the open air and sunshine. Get plenty of sleep. And let God be your healer. Look to Him for help as you pursue a new lifestyle that will help you recover kidney health. If you want to read about this, if you want the whole document, you can come to our website, Northern Lights Health Education. On our website, on the left-hand side, you'll see a button there that says Presentation Handouts. You can download the written form of this lecture and review it. Look at the recipe for the charcoal poultice or the instructions on how to use it, and you too can have improved kidney function. Well, this has been another episode in Blueprint for Health and Healing, reversing disease from its foundation, natural kidney health.